Warning, this video is full of spoilers. I advise you to first watch the review without spoilers and play the game yourself. Also, if you don't have a VR helmet, I've posted my walkthrough on a second channel. Enjoy! Hi, the Prolo Citizen here. First, as I promised, let's start with the challenges. I will leave out the obvious ones that I already included in the game, like speedrunning or stealth. Here I'm just trying to come up with some new ideas for you, so you can enjoy this game one more time. Basically, you can try to play this game without sniper rifles at all. I noticed it when I started sniping with an SMG, just using bullet tracking. There are no problems with sniper missions either, you can use a pistol in each of the two missions. But then I discovered that in some missions you are simply run out of ammo. Plus, honestly, it's not really different from the regular gameplay. But I have another idea for you, probably even better. So, here is my challenge: to complete the game using only sniper rifles without a scope. Surprisingly, this rifle can be found on the very first level. It is much harder to aim at enemies from distance. It is particularly funny when you're dueling against an enemy with the same rifle. Apparently, their hands are set up properly. In close combat there is another problem. After every shot you have to rechamber manually. But at least there is always plenty of ammo. I think it is worth a shot, you will definitely feel this game in a new way. The rules of this challenge are simple. You are allowed to use only rifles without scope and all explosives. No pistols, no SMGs, no shotguns. If you manage to complete it, share your story in the comments. Now let's take a closer look. We will analyze what makes this game good and what makes this game bad. According to information that I scrapped, this game was developed by a team of 25 people. It's basically just a port of Sniper Elite games from regular platforms to VR, but it's not that simple. This game is made on Unity, meanwhile the main engine for Sniper Elite games is Asura, an internal engine of the Rebellion company. So apparently the team has built all the mechanics from the scratch. Also, the level of optimization is brought to the decent level, on Oculus it really flies without problems. In result, from the game design point of view, this game is just inherits everything from the franchise. Still, I want to mention the story. I like the story itself. The narrative method of storytelling through the narrator's memories is on the right place. The only thing that is confusing is the jumping nature of the plot. Just so you understand, this is what the order of missions look like on a timeline. Personally, this approach deeply confused me. I can understand the first jump. First you tell about the consequences of betrayal and only then what have led up to it, but why there is so many jumps is not clear to me. In general, of course, the story in this game is not the main thing. And this is not my opinion, but the developers themselves. Otherwise, I cannot explain why introducing collectibles in the form of letters when they don't add anything to the knowledge of the world. No notes, no voice messages, basically just +1 to the statistic. From my point of view, if you add letters as collectibles, you should add something to them. For a VR game, text is not very suitable, but you can always attach a black and white photo, for example. And so, the main, and probably the only, way of telling the story in this game is the narrator's voice. Apart from it, you can highlight the in-game scenes. I would say about 2 of them per game. Betrayal scene, and oddly enough, Dante's death at the beginning. Scenes are made in Rush, probably were added just before release. They look good, only the Dante death, I could say, the scripts could be improved. Sometimes it looks a little bit funny. Let's go through the bugs I noticed during my walkthrough. I noticed only one critical bug. I think only once I had to reload the previous save because of a bug. It was on the last level in the port. In it I fell into a room from which I could not get out. There are plenty of small bugs. I often had the book jammed, the pages just wouldn't turn. Noticed weapons hanging in air. It is clear that it is a technical solution, but for an average user looks like a bug. On some levels there are broken Panzerfausts. I noticed that this is quite specific units that are buggy. For example, it is this Panzerfaust, on the night recon level in the harbor. I reloaded at the radio several times, and each time it did this weird thing. On the same level, a brave soldier shot me right through the wall. On the last level, in the castle, I noticed an invisible wall that blocking shots. I think there are more of these walls, and they're really annoying. Sometimes, for some reason, you can't throw grenade manually. It is also level dependent, so on some levels it works properly, but on some levels every grenade is broken. And sometimes weapons, if placed on table, would fall through textures. And that's basically all the bugs I have encountered. Bugs themselves are not a big pain. I'd say it's more important to focus on improving their existing mechanics. But given the small number of them, why not to fix them all? My tips for improvements. The first mission isn't simplified enough. I actually almost turned the game off because of it. It really needs to be further simplified to avoid refunds. The easiest solution I can think of is to just add a radio here. That would at least break up this level into 2 steps. The most important thing that needs to be fixed is return to the play area. It's easy, instead of simple black screen, make it semi-transparent. The game is obviously not paused, I got killed at this moment sometimes, and this thing works randomly. Sometimes you can calmly clip through textures, and sometimes you get this black screen in an empty place. The sense of cover is very much broken because of this. You can't just sit quietly behind the crates or just stand around a corner. I honestly don't understand how this could pass testing and why you can't just maintain visibility. Some small tips. Right now the belt adjustment is possible only with slidings. But I would do it instead with some VR interaction, so you can grab it, stretch and pull how you need it. Because the belt positioning is critical for playing, and I struggled a lot with adjusting sliders, just can't tell how much you need to change it. There are unnecessary tips in the settings. Instead, I would add a detailed description of the settings when hovering, because I personally still can't understand all of the settings. The menu pops up in a fixed position. Instead, I would just show it where the user head is currently directed. Because of this fixed position, I often had to turn around 270 degrees before finding the menu. Thanks to the level where you eliminate the traitor, I realized that the menu is fixed relative to the start of the level. So at the end of this level, the menu, instead of being displayed nicely at the end of the tunnel, is somewhere on the side. In my opinion, it fixes very easy. I talked about the sound of combo breaking in the first review, but I will say it here too. It's annoying. In Armory, the save button for weapon selection is useless. I would invert the logic to make it work for cancelling changes. That way you wouldn't have to remember to press it after every change. I would also add some ammo and simple target to the armory. Weapons are often distinguished not by their look, but the way they shoot, sometimes by sound. At least it works for me this way. And I would tell players about the ability to run, melee fight and other hidden mechanics. A game is always about conditioning. I would easily believe that all of these things are just not there if the game itself doesn't speak about it. Weapons. The most important thing in this game is, of course, guns and shooting them. Let me remind you that from weapons we have pistols, SMGs, shotguns and rifles. I'm more than satisfied with the variety of weapons. Each one is seen in a unique way. Unique sounds, unique grip, unique reload. Reloading of weapons is done by interacting. You must insert either bullets individually or a magazine into a weapon. Also, the round in a chamber is taken into account. Due to this, reload a weapon with a magazine can be done without pulling the bolt. You just need to count your rounds. At the same time, it is possible to do opposite, to fully discharge the weapon by moving the bolt. In case of revolvers, you can get unique fast loaders, for example, even with just one bullet. Weapons at the beginning of the mission can only be selected from the previously picked up weapons, so if you didn't find them on the previous level, they won't be in the stock. At the same time, you can freely change weapon during the battle. Flipping it from hand to hand is a pleasure. What I like most of all is ability to quickly pull out a handgun. There are no unnecessary buttons, no menu choice, you just keep holding your prime with one hand and with other you simply reach your secondary. If a weapon is dropped and lost, it can be retrieved by reaching into the empty holster where it was before. This is useful in principle, especially if you use only active grip, when you need to hold down the button. It messes up only with pistols. It turns out that they can be thrown out properly, so you can get rid of them easily and you will grab them instead of ammo all the time. The scope on a rifle is nicely designed. There is no additional activation, it's always displayed while the weapon is in hand. Magnification is well done. I was afraid that the distance for VR will be made shorter, but apparently enemies can be really far away. A little lacking the ability to mount the weapon, at long distances you also need to shoot standing up. But on the other hand, it works as a good exercise, including hand coordination. The focus, by the way, works not only on sniper rifles, but also for SMGs, shotguns and pistols. The shooting itself is generally enjoyable. It's what I keep coming back to this game for. But it's not without its cons and bugs. I've noticed a hidden mechanic that is really freaking me out. The sight tries to align with the eye. When you start aiming, the weapon could move in the line with the eye. The only problem is that on which eye to align it chooses itself. I play on left-handed settings and aim with my left eye. It may be less annoying for right-handed people, but I would like to highlight a fundamental problem here. For this game was chosen the model of free interaction with weapons, when you can just pick up and use any gun on level. However, this mechanic directly contradicted. For example, it often prevents me from raising the weapons and aiming at the enemies above. I can find a positive side in this. It both takes you out of the immersion and prevents you from learning how to shoot. What's more, I have not found how to turn it off in the settings. Honestly, I tried clicking everything. And yes, I played on the maximum difficulty, where you definitely don't expect encounter such help. On the other hand, there is no help in stabilizing the weapon. If your hands get tired and shaky, you immediately notice it in the game. The side jumps from side to side. And a lot of problems directly with interacting with weapons. The silent rifle has triggers too close to each other. This causes the controllers from the Oculus 2 to bump into each other. The double-barreled shotgun has the stock and gun rate triggers too close to each other. This makes it difficult to reload the weapon. I would suggest to separate these triggers according to the orientation of the hand. If the hands come from the bottom, palm up, then the player definitely wants to grab the stock. If it comes from above, palms down, then he wants to break the barrel to reload. For double-barreled shotguns and revolvers, it will be good to add an ability to close the weapon with upward movement. With this you will be able to close it with one hand. With bolt-action rifles I used to grab the stock instead of bolt every time. It looks very funny, especially considering the actual weight of the gun. Not really sure if it can be fixed, just letting you know. The range gun doesn't fire when the trigger is pulled. I mean a rapid fire, when you are holding a trigger and constantly pumping the forestock. I think this was common for World War II models. It would be a good Easter egg, but I'm certainly not a gun expert, just sharing my observations. So in general, it's nice to play this game, but you really need to get used to some flaws, as I said. And the most disturbing thing is the black screen. It prevents from taking proper cover, and that is really unpleasant for a shooter game. But as I said, I still think it is a good game. And I have some more findings to share with you. The radio apparently had a save limit. I noticed it on the first level where you can see this text. I am thankful that they removed this from release version. On some levels I honestly exploited a bit the ability to save after each shot, but I have no regrets. Doors cannot be blown up with grenades or explosives, and locks cannot be shot off. I don't know if it was intended, but because of the ability to pick up any weapon, I often found myself looting SMG ammo from every enemy. I personally like this kind of activity, looting, and see no problem here, as the number of rounds you can carry is still limited. In the mission before the elimination of the general, I couldn't deal with the sniper on the roof for a long time. In the second walkthrough, which got on this record, I wanted to show, as it seemed to me, an invisible wall through which I could not make a shot before. But what was my surprise when I got a great shot at the first attempt. So not everything is so scripted here, as it seems at the first glance. And I really like the posters and the surroundings in general. It's nice that the maps are in German and the patrol schedule are in Italian. You can feel the atmosphere of history here. So, dear friends, you have probably already realized that I do these reviews mostly for myself. As a game developer, I want to learn how to see the strengths and weaknesses of a project and how to easily improve it. So then I can better develop my own games that I make alone. And that's why I'm really curious. What do you think should be improved in this game? What did it do to you in particular? What do you think about it? I promise to read every comment. Don't forget to like this video, make sure that you are subscribed. If you're willing to support me, check the description, but the simplest way would be playing my games and buying me a cup of coffee. The Polar Citizen out. Stay strong.